don't know what happened there. It just froze. So I hope I'm not going to get that again. Hopefully, just get viewers back again. Oh, maybe I'll get myself a better webcam. I'll go for my computer in the future. Might be worthwhile, I think. So let's hope this stream stays on. And yeah, as I was just saying, yeah, I had to go and see my daughter because she turned 21 today. So and so I've not seen her this year. It's just things have been so crazy. But I can't believe it. My youngest is 21 now. It's mental. She's well. She's working. She's got a nice boyfriend. Which is good because well, actually, both my kids are in sort of doing steady things, which is a far cry from what I was like when I was their age. I was doing quite a lot of running around and all sorts. So it's good to see that this, having a slightly dysfunctional father, that they're more settled and stable than I was. So yeah. Um, yeah, so welcome back, everybody. It's great to have you with us again. And as I said, as promised, this is my live one, and I'm going to do these more regular, and I'm going to keep them more structured. So obviously, you'll know where and when I'll be doing them. And yeah, welcome everybody. Now, just sort of get you up to date. You'd have seen the Scarborough Castle videos last week, which was quite well. So considering I couldn't really do an actual paranormal thing there, it was still quite eventful and illuminating, considering what I got come through when I was by the keep around the wall. If you've seen it, you would have noticed that literally the first thing that came through when I run necrophonic was push me. And I understand the story of that place was that someone got pushed off the wall and obviously killed them. So to have that little thing come through was great. As limited as I was able to do, what I did get was good in a way. Whatever was in the keep that was following me up there, I don't know, but yeah. So hopefully you'll have enjoyed the Scarborough Castle visit last week. Coming up this week, it's a visit to the St Mary's Church, which is just outside Scarborough Castle. And it's another sort of a two-parter thing, really, because the first visit or the main content for Wednesday, that is at the church itself, and then on Sunday the bonus bit is I go and check out Anne Bronte's grave, and I think I've already discussed the Bronte sisters. Just to remind you, her two sisters were probably more famous. You've got Charlotte Bronte, which did Jane Eyre, and Emily Bronte was known for Wuthering Heights. So Anne Bronte, her main contribution to literature, obviously they've written quite a lot of books, but the main thing that Anne Bronte is known for is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. And yeah, it was the two sisters actually buried elsewhere, but yeah, Anne loved Scarborough so much that was where she was buried. And I can't remember what happened now, to be honest. So you'll have to watch them. But yeah, it was that was a very illuminating trip up there, and I think I will be going, as I mentioned before. Probably I'm going to be going back up north, probably at least once more. And I'm now looking at visiting the West Country, and the reason being, and I think Gloucester will be first on my port of call, and there's a very good reason for that. Now, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. Things happen for a reason, and I'll tell you why. Because obviously you all know me, me Thunderbird. You know, the bike I've had for a long, long time. You know, and the Honda I've now got. Now, the other day I was just parking up the Honda in the garage, and as I was rolling the bike in, I just took extra notice of the number plate of my Triumph. At the bottom, it's got printed um, the dealer that it came from, which was Performance Triumph. And then there was a postcode next to it, and it was GL51, which is the Gloucester area. And the weird thing is, my Honda also originated from Gloucester. So there's a weird link there. It's odd. And I bought the Honda in reasonably similar circumstances to how I got the Triumph. So it's weird that I've got two bikes that have come into my possession almost 10 years apart, and they both come from the same area. So, me thinking now, there's obviously a link to go. There's obviously some sort of calling to Gloucester at some point. I'll be heading out there for probably a future holiday, all the West Country anyway, depending on how much time off I can get. Yeah, it was just another little link. Actual content wise, what we've done recently, I hope I've been a bit more active now. And the interesting thing is that been going out with new people last couple of weeks. As you know, from a couple of weeks ago, I was back out with Adam from Paranormal Essex, and a couple of new guys in Rudy and Paul, both good friends of mine. And then I think that'd have been 3 Saturdays ago now, I think. So the Saturday 2 weeks ago, and I might have already talked about it in brief. I was back out with the Paranormal Essex guys, so it was good to see them back out again when we was up at Mistley. Things went a bit squirrely up there. One or two interesting things that happened. One being was, and you'll obviously you'll see it when I put the content up, but one of it could have gone very wrong. Fortunately, it didn't, but we had a dark energy there, dark entity, and they were basically holding a number of other spirits there. So we managed to sort of get rid of him, as it were. Told him we weren't welcome. And took the various steps to get him out of the picture, so to speak. So we could then work with the spirits that were stuck there. As we were trying to get these guys on, I think Ryan was like sitting there trying to get communication, and he kept saying, "Yeah, dark energy, like dark entities," and we were like, "No, shush. We've just got rid of one. We don't want him back again." Fortunately, he did come back, but he could have gone the other way. But yeah. So anyway, you know, we've worked with the spirits there and helped them move on. And it was a first for me because it was a multiple crossing, whereas I've done one-on-one on my previous ventures. So yeah, Mistley Towers a couple of weeks ago. That was good. And then this Saturday, I went to a place called St Clement's Church, which is in Thurrock. And this time I had another new crowd with me as well. 3 new people with me that night. So again, it's great because hopefully if I get more people involved, we can change the dynamics a little bit week in, week out with different people. You know, hopefully encourage different responses. And yeah, so this place, it's called St Clement's Church, and it's in Thurrock. Now, whilst that in itself won't mean a lot, it's actually quite famous because those of you with long memory, or well, who've watched Four Weddings and a Funeral, if you remember the funeral with the funeral bit with Gareth, that's the church that it was set in. So it was yeah, it was a good visit, and we did get some activity there, and I've got the feeling we will be going back as well. So yeah, that's all to come and all. Yeah, it's great. We're still trying to get some internal investigation. I'm working on that. As I say, it's just a matter of getting the word out there and getting the feedback. Because there's one or two places which is it's in Southend that I'm busting a gut to get into because I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's whether the people that are responsible for the properties are going to, sort of say, yeah, okay. And in honesty, it'll be in the interests of at least one of them because the place is called Nazareth House and it's going to be developed into residential. It was like a convent or whatever, the nuns, and it used to house orphan children and that sort of thing. And there was a lot of stuff that's gone on in its history there. And when I spoke to one of the ladies at the estate agents that manages the property and spoke to her about it, she said, yes, there's stuff in there. So, I mean, it'd be good if we can get in there and do. Hang on, I'm just going to check something. Hello, Joel Lord. Good to see you. Always. Yes, Malden is. Yes. Hang on. I'm just going to make sure all messages. That's it. That's the other thing I forget to do. Set me messages. Have I been there much? I've not Malden itself. I've been to Haybridge. We did a place up there. There was a church there, which is behind an industrial estate. And I think Essex Ghost Hunters, I think, were invited into one of the industrial units. And I think it's the place that does full face wheels. I think. Quote me on that though. But there'd been activity in one of the buildings there, and Essex Ghost Hunters went in there, and the video, because I was watching it live that night, I see one of the most crazy orbs go over someone's head. It was like a light. It was something else. But I remember that night watching it. There was a mention of stuff coming from the church, which is behind the industrial, behind that building. So I've been thinking, yeah, we'd go visit that church, and then randomly Ricky mentioned it one night, so we went, and we got some stuff coming through that night. But yeah, Malden itself not visited yet, but I've been told about one or two things there, so we'll look into that more in depth and see what we can dig out and give a visit to. So yeah, that'd be good. And also I understand there was a thanks, Drill. Yeah, also understand that there was a Viking battle there, so that's something else I'd like to check out. See if I can pull through any of my Viking ancestors, any spirits from the Norse bit. So yeah, watch this space on Malden. We'll go and check it out. The thing is, it's mad because Essex is so steeped in history. We go on about like the West Country and pirates and whatever else. The southern coast with all its naval activity. And the various other places in the UK as having lots of history. I mean, York's a prime example because I've been there. But all the Richard III and the Vikings, Henry VII, and all the rest of it. We often forget how rich in history Essex is, and part of my journey in doing this and doing the ghost hunting is you find out a lot about the area in which you live, and how old some of the places go back to, like St Andrew's Church in Ashington. I think next. Have you done much in Chelmsford? No. I've only been. We went to Chelmsford Cathedral last year, I believe. What's it like coming up to? Shut up, you. I've still got a few years. I've still got about 2 years, just over 2 years left, mate. before I hit the 5-0. So I hope we get a few things in before that happens. Yeah, going back to Chelmsford, we went to Chelmsford Cathedral, and we weren't really picking up a lot there. But the trouble with Chelmsford Cathedral, because it's obviously in the city centre, it's not that quiet, so it's not easy to sort of settle in and get the feel for that place. But I mean, having said that, when I went back over, what we did do, I did pick out a few EVPs, which were quite good. But yeah, that night we started at Chelmsford Cathedral. Wasn't really getting much, and that's when I said, well, I've got a plan B site, and I'm itching to get back to it actually, which is St Mary the Virgin in Great Baddow. And that was the one where I actually ended up communicating with an ancestor. And that ancestor is very, very well. If you know your English history, he's a very famous guy. And that was John Ball. And along with Wat Tyler and Jack Straw were the main instigators for the Great Peasant Revolt of 1381. And it was just a mental night. I think we put Tina under the Estes. And I was just so hard trying to think of a question. I'm thinking, shit, I'm actually talking to one of my ancestors, and he's not just any ancestor. He's responsible for what happened there. So yeah, we'll be going back to Great Baddow, definitely. Oh, and St Leonard's and St Luke's as well, and that's in it's Broomfield, by Broomfield Hospital. Excuse me a moment. Skull, everybody. Yeah, that was obviously the other side of Chelmsford. Yes, mate, me too. Yeah, we'll have so we're going to mark it. So immediately what I'm going to take for tonight, going to pay attention to Malden and Chelmsford and see what we can find up there. But what we're actually going to do this week, no, I'm not going out Saturday night filming because I'm actually going to... Will do. I just wish I could employ someone to do me editing because that's what takes the time, and I'm involved in so many other things. As I say today, I see my daughter, and I'm not seeing her this year, and it's going on trying to get my organisational skills improved would be a good thing. Yeah, so yeah, definitely gonna put them on my list. And see what we can find. But as I say, I'm getting some more people involved now, so hopefully the dynamics when I visit the different sites will be all for the good. Because there's a very old house. Yeah. Do you know what? I think a couple of the people in my Stand in the Park group have actually been to the hotel that you're talking about. I don't think I'll go at the time because I was doing other things, but yeah, they've been there. As I say, that might be something I can discuss with Paige and Adam, and maybe it's something we could put forward for like After Dark. So we'll come together and do a collaboration on that because that'd be great. With Paige and Adam's, with how they are and me, we'll have quite a ball with it, I think. So yeah, I'll double check with the guys in Stand in the Park and see which hotel it was, but I think it was the same one you were talking about. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'll check out what open ground there is in both areas and see what's worth doing. Yeah. Yeah, as I say, I'm actually going to go and do this Sunday. I'm losing track of time already. So this is my organisation. on like a Saturday. I'm going to a party. Very good friend of mine. She's a friend of mine. She turns 40, and I promised to ride on the back of my Thunderbird. So that should be really good. Ironically, that's in Chelmsford, of all places. So yeah, that should be quite good. But what we're going to do Sunday night is I'm going up to Alresford up in Colchester, and that's St Peter's Church. And I've been there. I've already been there a few times. I don't think I've been there this year. I don't recall going there this year, but we've been up there 3 times so far. 2 of those occasions, the people who were with me got a bit freaked out on both separate occasions. Ironically, the first time I was there was with Laura, and that's the lady's that's the lady's party I'm going to on Saturday. She got freaked out. Lisa, Kira. That's how long ago that was because Kira was with me. Yeah, Lisa, Kira. They all got a bit freaked out with it. Weirdly, the only one who didn't was Andy, which is Lisa's husband. Andy does production work for Laura, and Laura's quite funny because before he was going, she's like, "Yeah, let's get the crap out of him and all this," because he's a bit, he's a bit worried about being there and everything. And well, at the end of the night, the only person that wasn't freaked out was Andy, and he said the reason I'm all right is because you're calm. But the others would just go mental. And then I went back with my mate James, who's one of the South End Ghostbusters. I deal with the Comic Cons, and I do a lot of press stuff. They've got some great replica kit. They do look the business. And it was actually James that suggested that place in the first instance. And when we went up there the first time, James didn't come with us. The one person that said he wanted to go there, and he didn't come with us. And eventually got him out on the second time, and that was actually quite a freaky night, if I'm honest. We were just sitting there, and I think equipment was getting set off, and the temperature just started going, and we was getting all sorts come through that night. And then on the third occasion, it was Ricky, Tracy, Jay, and Tina. I think might have been 1 or 2 others with us, and that was a bit of a different night. That wasn't as freaky, but I think it's because obviously we've all because we won't be going out regularly, we're more used to what activities come through. But yeah, definitely Sunday night we're going to go and do that one. I've got a guy that's coming out with me. He won a there was a raffle being held at the Balmoral where I'd done the psychic thing on Saturday. This was ages ago, and I put up as a prize like a free paranormal experience. And funny enough, another guy called Adam, that's the prize he picked. So he's coming with me Sunday. Hopefully, I've got 1 or 2 other people coming out with me at the same time, and it should be a good night again. As I say, it's been a while since I've been up there, but definitely going to look at other areas with Chelmsford and Malden. I was sort of missed them out a little bit because obviously I've been concentrating on obviously round here, out to Pitsea, Romford, up to North Weald. We've sort of been on the more southern part of Essex and indeed with Kent. And it'd be good to just look at those areas again. So I'm going to do a bit of investigating work and see what I can find. Because again, as I was just saying just now, Essex is steeped in some history. Anything from the Saxons and Vikings to smugglers and God knows what else. And the stuff, if you look, that's still with us, dates back 1,000 years. In Essex, I think up near Brentwood, you've got the oldest wooden church in the world, I think, or one of the oldest. I'm pretty sure it's the oldest. I'm really sure it is. It's like the oldest wooden church in the world. Um, and it's been there 1100 years, 1200, something crazy. Benfleet has St Mary's, which goes back to about 1020. Same with Ashington. St Andrew's Church I've already been to. That went back to 1020. That was built by King Canute. He who tried to push the seas back. Canewdon's named after King Canute. And the battle that happened there, Saxons and Vikings again. Vikings were victorious, but King Canute, although Viking himself had converted to Christianity, so to commemorate that battle that happened there, he had St Andrew's Church, or its original incarnation, he had St Andrew's. So that church, or a church, has stood on that ground for 1,000 years. That's the kind of history you're looking at around here. Highwayman as well, obviously been to Epping Forest. Obviously, there's loads of history with that, particularly what's his face, Dick Turpin. And as you know, we've been to Hangman's Hill twice. First time was a little bit of a chuckle. It was during the daytime, and watching the cars roll uphill. It's not uphill; it's actually down. It's just optical illusion, as we found out. But when we went back the second time, it was at night. Very, very different. Ricky's EMF meter was going crazy at times. It just, the energy just suddenly was there, and his meter was just going ding, 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 ding. And the communications I'd come through, both via Necrophonic and EVP, that was meant as well. Again, Epping Forest is another place to visit. But Southend does have its own highwayman, and the guy's name is Jerry Cutter Lynch. Now, again, it's another great bit of history, which I had no knowledge of had I not done this. Going back to the early part of the 18th century, so we're talking around the 1730 mark. Now, on London Road, up near Belfair School, there's a place called Lapwater Court. There's a road down the side of it called Lapwater Close as well. And that got its name because on that site, back in the early part of the 18th century, there was a place called Lee Hall. And it was bought by, I can't remember his actual name, but his highwayman's name was Jerry Cutter Lynch. And his official trade was master builder. But he'd done the robberies and that, not on the weekends, but not being a DJ. But he bought this property, which back then, even then, back in that part of the 18th century was in disrepair. So he's bought it, and he's brought in some builders, craftsmen sort of thing to renovate the place. They agreed a daily rate, whatever, florins or pennies or whatever, and a lot of flagging around. And after a little while, the builders complained that they were not getting enough out. They wanted more. So Jerry said to them, well, if you're that thirsty, you can go and lap water out of the horse pond out the back. And that's how it got the name Lapwater. And Lapwater, so that Lapwater name has stood from 1730 till now. There's nearly a 300-year-old link there. All these little place names and that have got histories. And it's really something. Even now at the moment, when I was doing the Psychic and Pamper Day on Saturday, and that place is the Balmoral Centre. All that area was rebuilt after it got bombed out, and there was, there was human losses there, but you would not know for it if you didn't know the history. And as I say, Nazareth House is something I want to get into. That's been there since like the 19th century. Again, it's another place, but as I say, there's all these things. You just got to look into the area and what was there, and It's crazy, and you'll probably find it anywhere. I mean, even Basildon, Canvey, which I've already done, obviously Canvey. Basildon I've only been to once. That was a little of a. That was the church. Everyone said there's a monk there. Might be worth giving that a visit. We'll have to do it very late at night because it doesn't have the creme de la mode for society right now. Even they've got things that go back hundreds of years. It's just absolutely everywhere. And part of being if you want to, get some paranormal investigations, you've got to turn detective and historian, and that's when you find these things out. It's so fascinating, so fascinating. But yeah, as I say, chomps and Malden, absolutely all day. And again, with new people coming on board, they might have little tidbits as well, which I've overlooked and not known about. So yeah, that's quite good. Yeah, so what else I can really had this week? I'm sure I had someone was going to talk about last week. It's just totally gone. So see me Guild today. It's something else. So, anyway, going to Skull. I mean, not only that, but obviously London as well. The main issue with London was the ULEZ, which is now not really so much of an issue because I've got the Honda, so I can go into the ULEZ without getting charged. So that's another thing. There's plenty of places. I know there's a church in Walthamstow, which isn't far from Epping Forest. That's also linked in with Dick Turpin. So there's something else to check out. There's so much. Yeah. And if anyone's got any questions, suggestions, or ideas. Yeah. Oh yeah, the other thing I was going to say with going back to Mistley Towers. Whilst I was on that night, my Ghost Tube app, which you'll see when the content goes up. At one point in the night, it kept kicking out cousin, and I just said to everyone, "Has anyone got a cousin that's passed?" And I was like, "No, we haven't." I went, well, that leaves me then because I lost my cousin Mark about 9 years ago. So I just sort of said, "Mark, if you're there, mate, got to be firm about the jugs, and jugs have to be firm." It's an old line from a Bottom episode where we were both massive fans of Bottom and Young Ones and Blackadder and Red Dwarf back in the time when BBC was able to produce good comedy. And the funny thing was, come at my memories on Facebook that week or just after the Saturday night at my cousin Mark, it was 9 years since his passing. So it was obviously Mark that come through because of the anniversary. So definitely a wide world out there. I don't know what else can really talk about. It's just been such a mad weekend again. Both bikes are good. I've had them out today. With having a day off, it gave me a chance to. I've bought these wireless charging phone holders for both my bikes, and it gave me the chance to fit one to get my one with the Triumph fitted, and with the Honda, I bought this frame. It's like a fairing brace. It's the one that's on there is a little bit flimsy, particularly there's like a bar that sits across the top of the clocks, it's not really clocks, it's a dash now. I don't really do clocks on many bikes, only if they're sort of retro stuff. But yeah, there's this little bar, and I thought it'd be handy to mount my phone on. And I bought a RAM mount with a wireless charging clamp on it, and I fitted it to that, but it looked a little bit sort of, flimsy. When I've looked on the forums and they've said, yeah, that little bar you have to watch if you're going over rough ground or whatever because it can snap the weld. So I bought this frame brace from Camel, and I fitted that today, so that's now on there. And I've just got to wire the wireless charger in. But the one on my Triumph, I did try it out. Now it's connected and it works great. So it's much easier than fiddling around with trying to get USB wires in. You just put it in the clamp, turn the ignition on, and hey presto, your phone is charging. It's a much different thing. Is there? I don't know. Hang on a minute. Worcestershire. I'm just gonna have a quick. So I can see someone walking around outside. 2 secs. Worcestershire. I'm just accessing. I get the feeling there's like castle. Is it the castles in Worcestershire? And I'm just accessing the maps from my phone. Worcestershire. Let's have a look. Come on here. Yeah, that's a bit north of Gloucestershire, isn't it? Yeah. That might be worth a look as it goes. Now that's interesting because you're on the English-Welsh border. Well, we're not so much on the border, but you're near the English and Welsh border. So there could be. Yeah, that's what I thought. There could be worth looking at for any battles that took place there. Possibly between the Celts and whoever. And I think wasn't that it was either there or sort of Cornwall area that historical place for King Arthur. I think it's around there as well. So yeah, you should have a lot of old history there. Again, it's worth nosing into. But I think what I do when I do plan a trip to Gloucester, because we've got a friend up there says I'm always welcome to go. Maybe use as a base to have a look, have a closer look, because Worcester's not too far from Gloucester. Just have a look around and see what there is in the way of open ground and history and what we can get on. Oh dear. Yeah, definitely do want to head out. So I've got 1 or 2 more trips. I would think more one trip up north to sort of Yorkshire Moors area, and then sort of concentrate on the West Country because so you got all the apart from the castles and stuff around Worcestershire and Gloucester and that. Going out west, you got all the pirate stuff, that's also going to be worth looking at. Yeah, it's all good fun and amazing, isn't it? For what is such a small country, how much history is here? It's crazy. So much steeped into such what is a small area. Yeah, it's unreal. Have we got anything? I don't think I've got anything else at the moment. I haven't bought any new equipment apart from me. Bought another cheap REM pod as well. Yeah, I don't think I've got anything new in that respect. No. Yeah, it's just sort of pretty much where we're at the moment. Can't think of anything else I can put forward. Um, no, no. Whatever I thought about earlier has sort of disappeared. Yeah, as I say, that's oh God, Stratford. Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Um, I'll talk to William Shakespeare. I'll be like, no, your English is all wrong. Well, you're barred, so go. Yeah, Stratford's another good one. Again, that part of the country I've not um in all my life, not just for this, but I've not really touched much of the West Country. I remember going to Torquay and Torbay and all that as a kid, but other than that, I've gone over to Wales a few times. Um, yeah, I've it's going to be worth investigating. But as I say, as a starting point, Gloucester will be the place to go. It just seems odd that I've got two bikes at completely different times, they're completely different ages, and yet they've both come from the same area. As I say, that feels like there's a calling for me to go to Gloucester and check it all out and just see what comes from there. Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, apart from that, no, I can't think of anything else. If anyone else has got a quick question or anything they want to fire at me, by all means do that now, and I'll probably knock it on the end about in a couple of minutes. That'll be a somewhat shorter vlog than my last one. Mind you, even then it's like 45 minutes. That's good fun. I think hopefully on my next one I might have an update on my Saab as well, my red one. So I'm going to do a little bit of shifting around in the backyard so I can get the red one out and have a much closer inspection of it, because the main thing I want to deal with on that is my airbag light and try and the most haunted place you have ever been. I mean, Rettendon notwithstanding, I think for activity, Shoebury was very good. I had stuff on the first time I visited, and then on the last one, and the last one actually connected in with the first. I had a few experiences at St Andrews, the church in Ashington. I had a weird thing there, apart from my REM pod getting set off and whatever was there was telling me they were standing right next to Ricky, was quite funny. But I remember walking around the graveyard bit and I heard running, and I thought it was an animal, and I've just gone to where I heard the noise and there was nothing there. That was a good one. I'd say actually St Peter's Church in Elsa, where we're going Sunday. That's pretty haunted, that place. For the activity that we got there, having the K2 set off and temperature drop and that sort of thing. And I think there was a few orbs picked up there as well, so that's not bad. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, St Peter's is a very good one. That's why I'm going there Sunday. And actually, the site we done on Saturday was pretty good as well. But yeah, yeah, I'd say probably yes, St Peter's. That's got stuff going on there. SC, yes, Rettendon, the Lane Murders. That's right. Yeah. I'll probably point. I know I pointed it out on previous vlogs, but The mad thing is about the Rettenham murders was there was no previous reports of paranormal activity down there. And when we did go down and started pushing, we got some of the maddest activity. From catching an apparition to helping a girl pass over who cut me mic, to the communication we've got with Pat Tate and the devices being set off. It is a hive, and that was a site where nothing's gone on. There's absolutely no reports. The only report for Rettendon itself is the church, which you want to check out, and Wickford as well has got. I think there's a one in Wickford as well. But the Rettendon church, we know. Thanks, yeah. That was a very eventful night on both occasions. As I say, the first time when we done the Esters, when we picked up the little girl in the first place. Yeah, we are working on that. Hopefully, I've got a clairvoyant. She said she'd like to be involved with that. So watch this space. She's got a few things to deal with at the moment, but yeah, she said she'd like to get involved with that. So that would be really good because, as I said before, when again, I know it's something I've pointed out on the previous one, but when I brought in the two mediums for the previous one, it was at very short notice, so I didn't really have the chance to deal with them beforehand and see what they like and see how I'd interact with them. And yeah, yeah, I can't. I mean, all I want to say was they were very different in how they were, and one I felt sort of gelled a bit better than the other, if that makes sense. There wasn't a fourth person, at least not when I put the questions on the first time, and I think I asked for clarification the second time. When I did it the first time, I asked, was there a fourth person in your car at any point? And Pat answered no. So, and that concurred with the witness reports that we had, or the witness reports that were available. So it was like, well, if there was no fourth person in the car, that ruled out Mick being in there. And then I asked, if you know Mick, do you remember Mickey the pilot? And he went, yes. And I said, was he involved at any point? And Pat said, how would I know? So, that sort of said it all. The fact that they said there was no fourth person, and how would I know if Mick was involved, completely took away from Nichols' statement that he said Mick got in their car, they went off, Mick got out, got the gun and started shooting, and then his gun fell apart. Completely ruled anything like that out. But we do believe there was a second Range Rover down there during the night, and if you look closely at the pictures of the lane from the time, if you look at the tread mark or the tyre marks, you'll see that the Range Rover, obviously at the bottom by the gate, but if you look behind, there's sort of track marks that veer off, so that indicates that something had turned around in there, which I think would have been the second Range Rover. And the fact, and the other thing that points to that is when you look at the initial tyre patterns that go down to the lane there was only two tyre patterns. One was indicated a performance car, which pretty much was a Sierra, and the other pattern was synonymous with Range Rover tyres, or the style of tyre you'd had fitted to the Range Rover at the time. And the thing is, if you've got two Range Rovers down there, the chances are, there's a very good chance the second Range Rover would have had very similar tyres to the first one. So although you'd only see two different types of tread patterns, it could easily have been three vehicles down there, because the second vehicle would have the same tyres and therefore tread patterns as the first Range Rover. So well, you look out for little things like that. Yeah, but hopefully I'm trying desperately to catch up with my paranormal editing so I can start working on it and stuff again, because I've got a load of information to go through, and it's all really pucker. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the the police did ignore a lot, but they are also sitting on a bunch of files on the case that we will probably never see the light of day, um, or at least not until um, maybe Mickey, once Mickey and Jack are passed. But but I mean, Jack's 60, um, Mickey's 79. So you'd be waiting, probably waiting a couple of decades. Yeah, the Essex police were, well, I won't go into what I think of them, but or at least at the time. Oh right. Well, yeah. There's one of the things I'll be looking. Whilst the timings of the Range Rover being there around 7 o'clock, or at least initially, I think were pretty accurate. Um, you've also got the timings of when the second Range Rover turned up, and that white Escort van, which I think was owned by Darren Nichols' mate, because that was the one that turned up at Jack Wames's workshop asking to borrow a trailer. Um, but that white Escort van was also at the lane. These are all bits I've got to go over with the time. I'm going to do a lot of work regarding the timelines and picking out the discrepancies, and also possible extra sightings um, of the trio at other places during the evening when they were supposed to be down the lane. So it could have would have been, that they've come away. You've got Carpenter's Arms. You've got the one in Ocken, Allsit. The pub at Allsit was another one that's supposed to have been seen at. The Fortune of War. They've been here, there, and everywhere. Oh, sorry, on my computer screen. I thought, oh, no. I'm triggering things here. We've got all these sightings at different times, and also there are discrepancies from the witness statements, or rather, from the times they were supposed to be at one place and to get to another, and there was, when you look at them, they don't add up. There's all little bits and pieces like that. So I need to literally sit down and just power through everything I've recorded so far on the paranormal side, get that out of the way, and then I can sit down properly with the random bits. Yes, yeah, I do speak to the guys at Crime Scene Courtroom every now and again. If you go on their channel, they've actually got a lot of my aerial. They've used my aerial footage, all the drone footage I took of the area. They've got all that. So yeah, we do chat every now and then, and I've had one of them had an interesting experience down of his own. Although he's not put it up on the channel, but yeah, we had a little conversation. It was quite he had a little experience, shall we say? They've done remarkable work in digging up the information they've got, regarding what witness statements they have got and everything. I think the only place where we sort of come away a bit is that they're not of the opinion that any of the midnight, the report of the midnight shooting. Um, I think that's a spot where we sort of diverged. When I did my second Rettendon visit, I did ask. It was Tony Tucker that come through, and I did ask whether this happened around 7 o'clock or midnight, and I think he said like it point what come through indicated towards midnight. Again, when we go back again, it's something we can sort of confirm. But what corroborated the midnight chain of events? I mean, it could well be that they were shot earlier in the evening, and what happened at midnight was to throw people off the scent, because they can't. If the witness statements or the residents' statements are confused in so much as someone said, yeah, we heard shots go off at 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and then we got another one that says we heard shots at midnight, it's going to throw off the actual time of death. But as I say, the response I got seemed to indicate midnight. And when I followed Billy Jasper's statements, now Billy Jasper was actually an informant, from what I understand, and he did have handlers, but Ivan Dibley chose to ignore the stuff surrounding Billy Jasper because it didn't fit his it didn't fit his thoughts, because he wanted to nail Mickey for this, and I think the Billy Jasper thing would have thrown him off. So he sort of chose to sort of, no, that didn't happen, sort of thing. But as I say, I've go back on it's all in my playlist. But if you go back and look at, I followed the route of Billy Jasper as best I could, and the bit that stuck out. There's two things that stuck out, particularly when I've done the last bit regarding Billy Jasper. The two bits that stick out is one, his route he described, or rather the landmarks to get to Rectory Lane, South Woodham. The landmarks are accurate, and the thing is, Jasper's from Canning Town. Now, something I mentioned before, but how would a guy from Canning Town be able to tell you the landmarks and direct you to Rectory Lane where he dropped off Mr. D? How would he know that? I myself used to work in that area. I did an apprenticeship for a garage in Shotgate, Roworth, which is just down the road. And we used to test drive cars around that area. And even though I know the area, I nearly drove past the lane once when I first went down there, and I nearly did it again when I went back down there again. So, for someone who's reasonably familiar with the area to nearly miss it, how would a guy from Canning Town who's probably never been before there in his life, no sat navs back in that day, so it'd have been via maps or someone else directed him, how would he have known how to get to Rectory Lane? That's the thing. Also, when he dropped off Mr. D, I did, again, best I could, I walked the path of Mr. D from where he got dropped off at the bottom of Rectory Lane as close as I could get to over the fields, and I got as close as I could get to Workhouse. There were two issues why I didn't actually go as far as getting through the bushes. One was I got so far and I saw this cow in the field, and I've had an experience where a cow's taking exception to someone in the field, and it nearly didn't end well. But the other thing is that fence line, it's actually private property. So again, there's issues there. I didn't really want to sort of be found walking around on private ground. So that was the only reason. But it was only a matter of yards between that fence line and where you would have gone through the bushes. Well, the thing was, I took a leisurely pace down there and back again, and it worked out just under 40 minutes. Now, Billy Jasper said in at the police station that when I asked how long this Mr. D had gone for, and he said 30 to 40 minutes. No, I've done that at a very leisurely pace in under 40 minutes. So that's another thing which shows um, there's accuracies in Billy's statement. And there is one other thing I'm going to check up because I'm going to go back and do it at night. Now, it's also very prudent to mention, I don't think I mentioned this before, it's a bit of a first. I actually looked up what the lighting conditions would have been for that night in December 95. And because there's no street lighting there, all right, so the only sort of illumination you would have had would have been a torch and or the moon. Now on that night in question, it was at a virtual full moon. It wasn't quite the full moon. It's called a wax something or other, where the next phase would have been the full moon, but it's as good as. So you got a pretty good illumination. It would have been a clear night because it would have been snowing, so you know that it was clear. So you would have had good illumination from the moon. Now I've looked up when the next moon cycles are to get as close as I can, and there's one in the middle of November and the same in December. So what I'm going to do is go back at night when the moon is in the same position and walk it again at night and try and get as close to the conditions for that night. Obviously I can't legislate for snow, but hopefully you can get pretty, everything else, the illumination, the lack of foliage in winter should all help to give us an accurate picture on what Mr. D did, always, to and fro from that spot. So yeah, but yeah, as I say, that's the midnight side of things. I mean, what we've got is so open. Yeah, yeah, GV. We did that first paranormal one we did was the 25th anniversary, which is probably why the responses were so strong. So yeah, as I say, I'm going to keep an eye out. I'll either do it in November or December. I'm nothing paranormal. I'll just follow the route of Mr. D under similar conditions as it will be. Obviously, if it's peeing down with rain in, say, November, then I'll leave it till the December date. But it will be a cold night with a lack of vegetation. So those are about the best 3 bits I can get to, as opposed to repeating this, of being able to repeat that evening for, that what was described with Mr. D. I mean, again, we still got that period between sort of 7 and essentially 7 and 6 in the morning. 6 was when I think, what was it, 8 when Theobald and Jiggins turned up. So we still got that period, but obviously the one to be concerned about is a period between 7 and midnight, because that's when all, everything they did and didn't do, that's when it happened. So hope using the paranormal side to investigate it, you can possibly try and fill in those gaps, and at least get a picture of what they got up to during those few hours. Oh well, just gone over an hour. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's got any other. Again, I'm repeating myself, but I have got other unsolved murders I'm going to look at. I've still got to go back for Patricia Parsons. Hopefully, I'm going to take someone. Hopefully, next time I visit, hopefully I'll be able to take a psychic or medium with me, who might be able to sort of draw in a bit more than I could on the time that I went, because there was a few responses that come through that night. I believe there was a name of Victor for the Patricia Parsons murder, It was either victim or victor. That come through a few times. So yeah, going to go back and do the cover the Patricia Parsons one more time, and I've got other unsolved stuff to look at as well. So going to try and keep on top of that side. But obviously, I know we all know how big Randon is, and we've all got our own ideas and theories and all that sort of thing. What I try and do as a paranormal investigator is to narrow or try and narrow the field down as to what actually happened. Um, what went on that night, as opposed to the wild and wacky theories that can appear. So I mean, what we already know is, I would say that the shooter can be narrowed down to two people. That two people might have even been one. The response I got on both occasions, especially the first one, indicated it was actually Darren Nichols that pulled the trigger, and the other one being the Mr. D. So either Mr. D is Darren or it's another shooter. So we know it's one or two people. That's yeah. Oh. All right, I'm just gonna have a quick check of the time because it was 11:30. Okay. All right. All right, so just going to quickly, couple more minutes. Anyone else has got anything they want to say or any questions or anything along those lines? Just quickly. Obviously, some of you know I did the the psychic and Pamper Day on Saturday. That was good. It was nice to be able to talk to other mediums and stuff and get some responses from a few members of public as well, which is quite kind of why I went down there, really, just to sort of network a bit, get my channel expanded a bit and have a nice one-to-one with people who've had experiences and they could say, yeah, we could do with someone having a look at this place or that place, whatever. So I'm definitely going to do some more of them. Did you go before Nipper's interview last time? Yeah, so this is what happened, SC. Obviously, I did the first paranormal thing on the 25th anniversary, which was the 6th of December 2020. And my initial intention was to do a follow up, but 1 year on. So I would have gone back on the 6th of December 2021. That was my initial plan, just sort of a year on follow up. But then Nipper's story broke in, was it January? I think, or Christmas. It was shortly after I'd done the paranormal thing. And funny enough, it was my friends over at Liquid Bullet Productions. Look them up because they do some really good content, particularly if you're into the gangland and criminal fraternity, and they also do have some great chats with fighters. And they've actually done an interview with me and Paige, and I had a little paranormal experience there myself doing them. That's just reminded me actually because I want to go back to that gym and do a proper what's it in there. But yeah, just sort of, yeah, the Nipper story that broke shortly after I did my first one, and obviously when I done my first one, the thing was pointed at Darren Nichols as being the shooter. So when Nipper's story broke and he was saying, "Oh, it's my dad," I'm like, "No, it wasn't." The response I got wasn't your dad. Obviously that that exploded. I think Liquid Bullets, I think they've had about, must be about 500,000 views of that by now. And obviously it broke the national papers. So I thought, well, I'm not going to do the follow up a year on. I'm going to bring it forward and I'm going to do it in February. Because of that, because he was saying that it was his dad and XYZ, and told his story about his good friend who he can't name, and was it Damon Alvin or something was in the car, and all this, that, and the other. I mean, it sounded very plausible. It was a good story, if you know what I mean. And Lee said it did sound very plausible the way he was talking about it. No, I didn't. No, Joe, I didn't believe it either. Although it was mainly because I'd already been down and I got my own responses. So that's why I brought it forward to February. So that meant throwing a new team together at very short notice. And obviously, Paranormal Essex couldn't be involved this time, which was quite a shame because when we had Rob under the Estes method, he was brilliant. Rob was really, really good under Estes. So we had to, at this point, I can do Estes now, or I've got the means to be able to do Estes with other people. I'm not particularly good under Estes. I have to admit it, I do struggle, but some people are better with it. But I've got that there if I want to go back again, whether Rob or someone else is available or what. As I say, because I had to put it together at such short notice, I had to throw people in. So I thought it would be good to get one or two mediums involved as well to see if they can glean more information. And yeah, it was a bit of a chance because I've not met Mark or Julie before, and it was, shall we say, interesting to see what their perspective was on it. But yeah, when I went back, the question, the main question I asked regarding Nipper's dad. Now, Tony and Pat, I think, knew Sid Ellis, who was Nipper's dad. And when I spoke to Lee and said to him, do you know how big Nipper's dad was? And he said he was about 5'7". I said, okay. So when I went back again and I asked, was Sid Ellis here at any point? Now that's what I asked. So did he pull the trigger or not? Was Sid Ellis there at any point? Because if he was there, obviously then that throws the line out that it could well have been him. But when I said, was Sid Ellis here at any point, the response I got was no. So if he wasn't on the site, he couldn't have pulled, he couldn't have been responsible for pulling the trigger. It's not to say he wasn't involved with the whole chain of events, he wasn't there that night. Not only that, but it's another piece of overlooked evidence. When you look at the Range Rover, okay, the driver's seat headrest has got damage here from the shotgun blast. All right. Now, those of you who've been up close and personal with a Range Rover, like obviously they're all pretty much the same height anyway, but particularly the older ones, or you can go up against a Disco. They're not much different in terms of, I don't think they're any different in terms of height or how tall the seat is. But if you go up close to the seat of an old Range Rover and see how high that headrest is, for that shotgun damage to be done to it, imagine you've got this, you've got the butt in your shoulder, to take the recoil. So you got your shotgun there. Now, I stood up against the Range Rover and, and just sort of pictured a shotgun in my arm like that. And I had to I'm 5'11". And I essentially had to be up on my toes to be able to create or been able to create that damage. So whoever pulled that trigger was at the very least 6 foot tall. So that means, again, that was another thing that ruled out Sid Ellis. I would say realistically 6'2". So that then brings into play Nichols, because he was about 6'2". And I think whoever we think Mr. D was, I think he was quite a tall chap as well. So yeah, it just, when you look at that little bit of evidence, and it's so overlooked, but we're so used to seeing the image, we don't think about it. But I'm sitting there thinking, hang on, let's take a closer look at this, because then we can work out how tall the shooter is. And yeah, as I say, to me, you'd have to be about 6'2", and Sidus was 5'7". So unless he stood on the milk crate, it wouldn't have been him. Having said that, it was still enjoyable listening to Nipper. Yeah, he's an engaging character, whatever he says. But yeah, that's my take on Nipper. Yeah. I mean, the only other thing that got me about that was that why did he break that story then? Well, about when was it? About a year? Was it a year ago now? Yeah, 18. Yeah, about 18 months ago that was. Why did he wait 4 years after his dad's death to break that story? When he was said to have been mates with John Wilmes, who was Jack Wilmes' brother. Now, if you're a mate, they were too brash and no, they didn't. No, no, because I mean, you think about it, and whatever you think of, top dog gangsters, criminals, and that, they keep themselves to themselves. They generally keep pretty quiet. These guys just didn't give a monkeys, so it was only going to end one way. They just trodden all sorts of toes and thought they were untouchable, and they weren't. Well, this actually comes from I don't know if anyone's watched Ashes to Ashes, and there was an episode in there where D.I. Drake is explaining how the sort of top dog works. It's like a web, and like a spider's web, but the spider doesn't sit in the centre. They'll sit out the way, and everything else will go on here, and they'll only come down when they need to. And that's quite a good analogy for how top dog gangsters work. They generally stay out of the limelight, and let all their minions and dogs' bodies do the hard work, and they just sit back. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. SC, yeah, drugs do that. Particularly, sorry, as me, I've just plonked. I've still got my bike boots on. I've literally come home and just plonked myself down. Yeah. I mean, the drug thing. I mean, they was doing all sorts, but cocaine's was one of their main was one of the main things they were sticking up their nose. And the trouble with cocaine is it does make you think you're invincible. It's prone to making you violent. And all sorts of things. And whilst I don't condone drugs, and I never will, you see a lot more of it now in clubs, pubs, and all sorts. That 30 years ago, the main drug was ecstasy, and it was a drug that made you want to love each. The last thing you wanted to be on when you're taking a knee was violent. You just wanted to love everyone around you. That's why there was so little troubles in all the raves and everything, because everyone was off their nut and knees. Unfortunately, now the drug of choice is coke, and it's horrible. I've seen it so many times. People kick off, and half the time, they've done some coke. They feel invincible. They think they can do anything, and those boys are the epitome of it. Oh, it's like the old war wound I picked up in Nams playing up Dagenham. Right, okay. Anything else quickly for a shoot? Right. Okay, I think what we'll do, we'll leave it there. I'll say, because I've got to turn in now. I'm absolutely knackered. Like most of us today, we probably all had a day off, and I'm back at work tomorrow, and I've 9 in my back of work, I've got an early pickup, so yeah, I do need to get some rest. So anyway, we're going to leave it there. I think yeah, we'll do another live one in a couple of weeks. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get started a bit early. As I say, to those who joined me a bit later tonight, tonight was a bit unusual because it was my daughter's 21st, and I'm not seen her all year, and finally got to see her and give her a card and a bit of money and everything. So and what exacerbated things was I left my stepdad's to go and see my daughter, and I left my phone at my stepdad's, so I just had a massive goose chase, and so I was a bit late tonight. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I will say cheery bye to everyone, and as I say, Wednesday is the visit to St Mary's in Scarborough, and then Sunday night is bonus content from Anne Bronte's grave. So look forward to seeing you then. Yes, mate. I've still got loads to edit. You're going to see so much, and we've got some new people out with me as well, which will make for some good thing. Thank you, GV. All the best to you, my friend. So yeah, to everyone out there, massive love and light to you all. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you Wednesday and Sunday, and then I'll see you next week. Thanks, Drill. God bless, mate. Ta-da. Bye-bye, everybody. Ta-da.